Good morning and welcome to the Health Literacy Show with myself and Sister Elise here on the Elife Media Network. My name is Dr. Baruch, and in the world of radio and live television, we're always excited when our guest decides to cancel at 5 minutes to the time of the show, but it's all good because the show will go on. And today I got a couple of things I want to talk to you about. We are also anticipating Elise's arrival, and yeah, we're going to leave it at that. The engineer is me. I'm the engineer, producer, and I'm on the other side of the camera today. And I'm coming up with what we're going to talk about. Did you all check out recently in the news the Bloomberg news report that talked about melanin and how melanin is a better storer of energy than even lithium? Again, melanin is a better battery than a lithium battery. So I know there are many sources, or let's just say there are different sources of melanin, but it's a really interesting concept to think that there are people who have melanin in their skin. They are imbued with melanin, and this melanin is beneficial to their body, and they would rather not have it. They would rather not be as deeply melanated or complected as they are. Really, really interesting. And Bloomberg, to bring that out is interesting, and they also bring it out relevant to cancer. So they talk about melanin and how taking these little melanin capsules on a daily basis is a better fighter against cancer than a list of other failed, of course, cancer treatment protocol that the United States government has led us all to believe are the best routes for us to take. But we see many of us getting sicker, and checking out. So today we're going to talk about that. We also want to talk about this movie that I saw. I saw the movie Birth of a Nation. And although I don't have someone to dialogue, I'll open up the phone lines for those of you who might be so inclined to do so. 240-455-5934. I say that cautiously because I'm not sure whether my engineer, which might be me again, whether my engineer has gotten to the technical issue that we have with the phones. But let's stick with what's going on with melanin. It says here, Carnegie Mellon scientists identify chemistry that one day may drive medical devices inside the body. In other words, this melanin will be the battery that powers devices inside of the body. So would you think that maybe it's the melanin that's powering the body already? Are they revealing something without revealing it? We all, have heard it spoken before. I've taught it to many a class where I talked about we're just batteries. We're batteries that collect the energy from the sun. You need the vitamin D. For those of us who are challenged with heart disease or know someone with heart disease, the heart is like one of the most significant players in the maintenance of life inside of the body. The heart pumps the blood up to 70 miles an hour through your blood vessels. And it needs electricity in order to do this. And it gets its electricity from a process that includes the vitamin D that is inside of the body. So when you're vitamin D deficient, you find that organs that are heavily dependent upon that electricity won't function as they should. And Bloomberg has brought attention to something that many of us have known, but it's interesting when you find people that don't necessarily maybe look like us, and don't always want to report on some of the benefits that we have that others don't. It's really interesting to read in the Bloomberg report here that they're bringing attention to melanin as a good thing. Now, we all know that recently you don't have to go to the tanning salon anymore to get a tan. You get a tan in a pill. How do you get that? Well, you can imagine there must be some melanin quality, or there's some melanin content in that which they're consuming that's allowing people to get complexion, allowing people to get a tan, allowing them to have melanated skin without getting up under the sun. And some of us take that for granted. We think, again, that our skin and the dark pigmentation of our skin is a curse, while everybody else is out there on the beach laying trying to get their sun tan. They want to get a tan. And you would think that they're just trying to get a tan so that they can look cute. You better read beneath the surface. Some of them know what the deal is, and they realize that the more vitamin D that they have in their body, the more electricity they have in their body, the more that the body functions will operate as they should, because there will be sufficient power. There's also a relationship not only with heart disease, but there's a relationship with vitamin D deficiency and diabetes. How many times do you go into a medical office and you hear about the relationship? You might hear that you have a vitamin D deficiency along with having pre-diabetic or diabetic symptoms, but the medical doctor's probably not going to share with you that there's a connection between the vitamin D deficiency and your diabetes or your heart disease. He would rather give you a 50,000 IU vitamin D injection that you have to come back for every 2 or 3 weeks. And then also give you your diabetes medication and whatever else needs to go along with that cocktail in order to keep you just well enough that you would be able to continue to go to work and do whatever you need to do to cover the bills, especially your medical and hospital bills, because those are what's important to them. But this vitamin D deficiency is connected. Now, you hear also, or I've shared with you, the vitamin D and heart disease. And heart disease is the #1 killer, if it is still. There's so many things that are attacking us now. But heart disease is one of the #1 killers in the United States of America. And nobody is coming out and telling you that you have a vitamin D deficiency, and that's where the issue is. It's not making it into the public space because the public, an uninformed public, is a more profitable situation for the pharmaceutical and the medical industrial complex. So we also have the vitamin D deficiency is also associated with malabsorption of calcium and magnesium, two very, 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 very critical minerals inside of the body. You've got to get your vitamin D so that you can support the absorption of calcium and magnesium. And it's a whole concert of things that take place when you have sufficient levels of vitamin D inside of your body, just like there's a whole concert of things that don't take place when you don't have sufficient levels of vitamin D inside of the body. So you want to make sure that that's something that you make a priority and you work on continually on a daily basis. And it's the easiest thing to do. Get out and get some sunlight. Get out and get some sunlight. Sure, taking a vitamin D supplement might be recommended. That might be recommended for those of us who know we're not getting sufficient sunlight. And believe it or not, those of us who are darker need more sunlight than those of us who are lighter. So if you're really dark complected, you need to get out in that sun and stay in the sun. And I know that seems like, well, why would I want to get darker? Because you're going to get out of the mindset that America's given you that leads you to believe that dark is bad, black is bad, deep melanation is bad. Meanwhile, people without melanation are the ones that are making this claim. Yeah, makes sense to them, and they've convinced us. Those of us that are taking fade cream in order to lighten our complexion so that we could look more like them. Yeah, and they're on the beach trying to look like us. Talking about crazy. This is a crazy world we live in. So, I'm gonna jump out of that, and I want to talk to you a little bit as I'm having to kind of go with some things that I listed out as I learned my guest was not going to be here in the studio. I listed out some things that I think would be great for our conversation, and one of them is Birth of a Nation. And I don't have mixed feelings or emotions about it. I think it's a good thing. I think the fact of the matter that there are people talking about Nat Turner is a good thing. Now, if the conversation drives to the point where people are questioning the authenticity or the order of things and how and who was involved in Nat Turner's revolt and what role the indigenous people, as though Nat was not an indigenous himself, but what role the indigenous people played in his survival at a point. I'm not wanting to get into that debate. I'm just glad that I learned of that, and I would have probably only learned of that as a result of the movie coming out and there being discussions about this. So I think it's really good. Now, if somebody wants to come back out and produce what they might consider a more thorough documentary as opposed to a movie, which we know that movies are in the business to make money, documentaries might be in the depending on who's doing it, who's producing it, and what audience they're seeking to reach. That a documentary might be in line with, or it might be that a documentary is seeking to empower the audience with information, hopefully truthful information. So until that comes out, or if that is out, that's where you would go for the true authentic information with all of the credible sources that are supposedly there that are lending support to the information that is there. So I did see the movie, and I was inspired. I could tell you there was one element of it that I didn't quite it's not that I didn't like. I thought it maybe didn't need to be played up as much as it did, or it was in the movie. And I'm not the director, I'm not the producer, and I'm not the sponsor either. And I'm not the one who has to figure out how to get the sponsors. And if the sponsors are saying, look, we need a little bit more of this in the movie so that we can feel more comfortable, that we're going to reach an audience that we'll be able to benefit from, then so be it. That's just the world of Hollywood. That's how Hollywood works. You're really appealing to the sponsors on the front end, those executive producers on the front end that lay out that money on the front end. And you're hoping to be able to then, within the boundaries that they set for you, produce something that will have value to an audience that will want to come out and see your product. So, but that one piece that, I thought maybe it could have been played down a little bit was, the woman, the unmelanated woman. That's where we're going today. So the unmelanated woman who taught Nat Turner how to read, supposedly. Although it was kind of like he was already reading, and then she just taught him maybe a little bit more of how to read. And, sure, there's a need to maybe convey that he had some support with what it is that he was learning. But maybe the bigger story was, why would you not want people to read? Why? Maybe the bigger story was not that she went way out of her way to give Nat Turner an opportunity to read and learn and be able to read the Bible, but that that was not acceptable and that was punishable, in fact, until folk figured out how to use it to their advantage. And folk, I'm talking about, again, the unmelanated, decided that because Nat Turner was able to read the Bible and had become a minister, pastor, reverend, however we would refer to him, that he would be a great tool to be used to indoctrinate the other, maybe unsettled or unhappy, or maybe not as pleased with the program, enslaved Africans. So this was a tool that was being used, and I think that's a very critical point in the movie that was brought attention to. And I just wonder, I'm staying within the boundary of the movie, but I want to shift into this area of the use of this book, and it resonated with me because I can remember that I said this is the same thing that was said or similar. It wasn't said, but this is the same thing that was done or attempted to be done in the Book of Eli, the movie, the Book of Eli. That it was clear that the Book of Eli, or Eli had this book, and this guy wanted to get the book, and if he had the book, then he would be able to control the people. At what point does somebody not scratch their head and say, is that what this is all about? Is our participation in this, this spirituality, or what has replaced spirituality, this religious experience, is it all about somebody controlling me? That's a good question, and I think you'd have to check the results. I live in Prince George's County, and you don't go, but maybe a couple of blocks before you see not just a church, but a mega church, like a church big enough to put a football field inside. And that's what we have, and that's what is known, about Prince George's County, that there are these huge mega churches where you have these pastors that are there speaking to the congregation, sometimes 2 and 3 services a day inside of a huge mega church. 16,000, 25,000 members of the church. At some point, doesn't somebody have a reasonable expectation that there would be a body of people that not only would demonstrate this superior level of we'll leave it in the realm of religion, religious understanding and religious capability, or in fact is the whole institution, has it become more of an entertainment and financially, a financially beneficial experience, than it is anything to do with religion? And I can remember when I was regularly going to a church. And I'm not just saying that it's only found in the church, because there are many religious houses that have lost their spirituality and are deeply rooted in this new religious and acceptable religious experience here in the United States of America. So we have to, at some point question if there are that many mega churches and we got this many people in Prince George's County that got issues. And you get excited in the news, and the news gets us excited about somebody being shot on the street. That's big news. Let's talk about this for like a week, that somebody got shot on the street. And nobody's bringing attention to the number of people that are dying from high blood pressure, heart disease, and diabetes. But death is death. You close your eyes and you don't open them back up. And so if the life is critical and important to you, then why? Why not there be as much uproar and excitement about individuals that are losing their life to diabetes, to heart disease? Why is it that churches haven't become like these huge institutions of empowerment, where you're empowering the community to live better, to live longer, and to exude this this positive energy out beyond the bounds of the walls of the church? Maybe that's happening, maybe not. But I would just think in Prince George's County, this would have to be the most righteous county I would, ever live in, if in fact what was being given and what was being experienced in these houses of worship actually was causing people to change and draw closer unto that which is right and holy and spiritual and connected to um, the maker, our maker on the planet. So a little concerned about the number of us that go to the movie Birth of a Nation and let that get by us. If the book is being used to control people, if the word is being used to control people, and that's what the deal is, then why would we continue after all of these years to subject ourselves to something that at some point you got to scratch your head anyway? Because if pastor's got a jet and a helicopter and a compound large enough to put a house for his mama and his daddy that don't live together, and his wife's mother and daddy, and a couple of other people on his compound, and still have huge swaths of land and landscape and rolling hills on their property that was all financed by you, the members of the church. At some point, don't you scratch your head and say, well, wait a minute. I mean, I could understand living comfortably, but that to that level of extravagance, that ain't righteousness. That might be religion, but that ain't righteousness. And then you got people right here that are members of the church that are struggling. Prince George's County is like the #1 county in this whole area, between Prince George's County and I think Baltimore County. #1 county for foreclosure. And the number of foreclosures in this area is ridiculous. And you got a huge compound where you're making money off of people that are convinced that they are providing you this money every week, and they have to do this because you compel them to. Sometimes you not only compel them to, but you got direct deposit. And then we go back and we check the historical record, and we see how this institution was used back in the day. And this is just a continuation of it, because again, I reflect on what is going on with the people. The people don't represent a power base. They don't. And so Birth of the Nation was good in that it brought out some really good information for us that we could talk about, and that you could see, and you have to suspect that he didn't just put that in the movie by mistake. He put that in the movie on purpose. And he put that in the movie, I would suspect, because that was the reality in the day. And it's not hard to suspect that that was the reality, because that's the reality today. So we're thankful, and we look forward to, for those of you who want to go see the movie, I think it's worthwhile seeing. It's always good to see aspects of our history, not that we need to be overwhelmed and inundated with slave memories and memories of our enslaved experience, but we need to be brought up to date on the historical record, which does not get conveyed to us in the classroom. I can't remember, but I went to an elementary school that was predominantly melanated teachers and melanated students, and I can't remember hearing about Nat Turner. I can't remember. Not in one of the books that we read. I can't remember. I could be wrong, but I can't remember reading about Nat Turner, and I can't remember about Denmark VC, and the list goes on of individuals who have affected our lives, or who had the capacity to affect our lives if we only knew what it is that they did. Again, this is the health literacy show, kind of blended in with a little bit of Not on My Watch, in the sense that we do both of those shows over the course of the day. 1 hour we try to commit to health and wellness, and the other hour we commit to we commit to bringing attention to subject matter that either you don't know about, or maybe you don't know the angle, the perspective, and we bring attention to that. So we'll be going to be doing more good programming in that space, and I am going to take a momentary break as we transition. I want to bring something onto the computer screen that I think would interest you. You all sit tight. We're going to be right back. All right, we are back on the Not on My Watch show, and I've got some stuff I want to share with you about what's going on and what should make us really proud and excited about who we are and what is special about us. And I think a lot of what is being done here in the United States of America is everything that makes us great has been flipped, and we are led to believe that it's a negative. So, or if it's not a negative, where it's being exploited by somebody else, they're benefiting from it, and we're benefiting very little from it. And you know, we could talk about the entertainment industry. We could talk about the sports industry, which is just the entertainment industry with a lot more violence. Um, we could deal with the fact that um, we all tear up when we hear about the child that was homeless, that now is the valedictorian and on their way to Harvard University. Well, you can just imagine how many of us would be overwhelmingly more intelligent than our unmelanated counterparts if we didn't have so much hell that we have to go through on a daily basis that is being inflicted upon us on purpose, by design, by people who say and who repeat in the news, and we're ignorant to the energy that we put forth when we do say when we put the two words together, white and supreme. When we put those two words together, we bring power to that energy. And we hear that being discussed. We're hearing a lot more of that now that you're seeing the things that are taking place in the news. And another piece of information, not only are we being flipped with regard to now the unmelanated being supreme, but now the melanated are the cursed. They're the permanent underclass. They're the downtrodden. And not only are they the down, but they're supposed to be. They're liable for this, lifelong punishment that they're going through. So we're going to jump in and check out something that I've created, and prayerfully you all will be able to benefit from this. After we finish this, we're going to go ahead and close out the show for today. Let's jump in. Presentation is called Black Gene Lies, and I have to say that it was heavily inspired by a unmelanated man that I encountered in Detroit, Michigan. And I was amazed at how much time he spent talking about people of color and how much he respected, regarded, uplifted, thought people were great in this group of melanated people. So here we go. Let's jump in here. I'm going to switch the screen. You're going to go right into the computer with me. And we're going to talk about Black Gene Lies. And that is not a name. Gene in there is not, we're not talking about Black Gene that does lie. No. These are Black Gene Lies. These are lies that are being told about your genes that that you are being led to believe, and not only led to believe, but you are believing it, you are embracing it, you feel like this is the truth about who and what you are. Black Gene Lies. Okay, and we're going to go in and we're going to expect the presentation to work, right? Okay, so yeah, this is a presentation that I did. So I don't know that I have the capacity to still provide that free gift, but we'll see. And if I can, I will. The part that I think resonates a lot with me. And when I say part, I mean a significant part of why we are so sick is because people do lie. And there are liars on the planet. And these liars do lie, and we embrace and believe the lie, and we support the lie. And we think the lie is the truth, and we defend the lie, and we live according to the lie. And we never challenge or question the lie because we believe that the lie is the truth. When we look at the screen and we think about healthy food, when I first started eating healthy, I ate tofu without seasoning in it on it. It was just like, put it in a pan, saute it, and work it out. And sometimes that was just like saute literally a small sliver off of the block of tofu. And you would put a little ketchup on that, a little bit of salt, inside of some bread, maybe a little mayonnaise, and that was a lunch. And it was good. I didn't know that it wasn't good because I didn't have what we have today. So what I saw was like, whoa, that's what's up. I could do this. And I can imagine the people that are challenged with tofu today or just healthy eating today, they really have a bad concept of what healthy eating looks like and what healthy eating is. And so, yeah, it is now giving me some good news on the screen. Okay. I think we should identify our motivation. And our motivation to become healthier might be because we are sick and we want to get better. We want to live longer. We've got some other work to do. We want to raise another family. Ding, 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 ding. That sounds familiar to me. But or you might want to just be there for your family. You want to be there for your children. You want to be there for your grandchildren. But in any instance, there has to be an underlying motivation, and we have to be motivated to do and to create this this lifestyle for ourselves that is still in 2016. It was against the masses in 1978 when I first started making this transition. It was against the masses, of course. Back then I was weird. People thought, you're going to get sick and die. Your brain isn't going to develop like everybody else's brain. Well, all that obviously isn't true, but that's what somebody wanted us to believe, and it allowed people to feel comfortable. Now we look up today and we see celebrities. Beyonce was one of the more recognizable ones. Her and Jay-Z jumped off and started eating vegan. I think they did it for a month, and then I think Beyonce got into a vegan business. John Sally, you see there, and Usher are two others. But there's so many people who have decided that, and entertainers probably for various reasons that maybe you and I might not be able to relate to. One is because their level of creativity and their ability to entertain is enhanced when their body isn't sluggish and bogged down with all of that crap. So let's jump to the next. And then, you've got the naysayers who think it's silly. Then when they see me, they kind of get lost because it's like, well, you're supposed to be skinny as a rail. And if you know me and you've known me for years, you know that I've lost weight. And I've lost weight on purpose. And the purpose was because I wanted to be healthier. And I want to live on the planet longer. And I don't want to live on the planet and be broke down. I don't want somebody wheeling me around in a wheelchair because I decided that my tongue was more valuable to me than the organs of my body. And then there's the protein myth. The people that come in the door, and I've had them come to the restaurant, and they just swear they got me. They got me cornered this time. Oh, man, we got him. Doc, where do you get your protein from? Because, we need this much protein every single day. Where do you get your protein? And I look at a family, and everybody is overweight. You can look at their skin, and you can see that everybody is unhealthy. And you can see that they want to hear that the way that they're living, the way that they're eating is okay. And that's really what they're challenging. They're not challenging me. They're really challenging themselves to prove that what they're doing is good. And it's not. How many more funerals do we need to go to for 20 and 30-year-olds that have heart attacks and that have died as a result of complications from diabetes or heart disease? And then, there are other creatures on the planet. You see, Mr. Gorilla there, that there are other creatures on the planet that's all they eat is fruits and vegetables. And homeboy is as strong as a gorilla. And if he was in the room with a bunch of meat eaters, the meat eaters would be intimidated, and the gorilla would, demonstrate who is the alpha male, right? So I was going to actually show you a video here, but I think I'm gonna skip past that. But stay tuned. You see this gift? I got you. I'm baiting you. Stay tuned for the gift. There's a gift that we want to give you. Top 10 causes of death for African Americans: heart failure, cancer, and heart failure can take various forms. Sometimes it's just a heart attack, or it's heart disease. There are different levels of heart failure. Cancer, of course, now cancer has become so commonplace that it's like it is nothing for somebody in your family to come home and say, yeah, I've been diagnosed with cancer, but we're going to start chemotherapy on Monday, so I'll be all right because they caught it early. Then there's stroke, the lack of blood getting to the brain shuts down, possibly damages the brain. We've got accidents, diabetes, violent deaths. And I don't want you to disconnect violence from your diet. The diet that you're consuming is a violent diet if you're consuming the standard American diet. What has to happen for those dead animals to make it to your plate is violent, and we're consuming that, and pneumonia. So those are the top 10 causes of death, and I've got 7 on the screen. Maybe the other ones show up here. No, they don't. So that was the top 7 causes of death. I need to change that slide. And heart failure is pretty big because a lot of people who experience heart failure don't get a second chance. You once you have a failure of your heart, it could be lights out. And there's a quote that over 90 or 99% of the heart failure or heart disease situations are preventable. How many times do you hear that in your medical doctor's office? Does he let you know that you could have prevented this heart disease? They don't make any money off of you going home and working on your heart disease at home with what it is that you're eating. The cardiac southern cardiac belt there, that's where you're finding more people who are challenged with heart disease or dying from heart failure, experiencing heart attacks. It's a lot. And remember now, we're on a planet where no other creature on the planet is as sick as human beings. That's already bad, right? What's worse is there's no other human being in the United States of America that is as sick as the melanated man and woman. And as you can see there, the concentration levels down in the South are pretty high with regard to the numbers of us that are suffering with heart disease. Cancer, I said it earlier, cancer is like it's not even a big deal anymore. It's not. It's still a death sentence for many of us. We just believe that when you get it, it's all over. It's done. Chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, and then I got another 6 months, and I'm out of here. I could double back onto that conversation about religion and show you how religion plays a part in making you feel okay with that outcome. But I won't right now if I haven't already done it. But cancer, and there's so many different forms of cancer. And how many of us, when we got cancer, know somebody who has cancer, do we go to our medical doctor's office and he says, change your diet? Immediately, drastically, violently change your diet. Get the crap out of your diet and eat the healthiest food on the planet and watch what happens. You're going to live longer. You're going to be more vibrant. Yes, it takes time for the body to rid itself of any ailment. No different than a cold or bronchitis or any other ailment inside of the body. It takes the body time to get rid of. But the body's going to struggle to get rid of it if you're continuing to do what it is that is contributing to that problem. So it's that's real. That is real. And we're needing to learn. We're needing to learn from other people's experiences. We're also needing to learn or to embrace that which just makes sense. And that just makes sense. You know, cancer statistics are off the chain, and we as melanated people are at the top. Number one, prostate cancer, breast cancer, the colon cancer, you know, is off the chain. I think the one area that we didn't fall into where we were number one, but that's probably changed by now, is skin cancer. Stroke. Not getting sufficient oxygen or blood to the brain. The brain is the nerve center of the body. It's where all of the processes get activated, initiated, and the commands, and it all comes out of the brain. Now, there's the claim and the understanding that the central nervous system is the brain itself. It is a part of that whole brain processor. And also the stomach, you know, with the vagus nerve running up from the stomach to the brain. There's a connection between the stomach and the brain. But we know that the reason why we see so many of us challenged with stroke, and stroke again, it could be it. So a lot of us don't get a second chance after a stroke. So we know that there are deficiencies associated with stroke. We know that there are also toxicities associated with stroke. We have to change our diet. Now, you've heard me say it, I'll say it again, that it seems as though the solution to our problems has been made hidden, or it's so obvious to us that we just don't see it. Or the third, which I think is the most fitting, is that it's been made repulsive. So now the solution to your problem has been made repulsive. You want to gag rather than eat healthy. And you would think if on the other side of eating healthy, you know, you're either going to eat healthy or you're going to die. You would think that there would be people that would say, okay, well, shoot, it's time for me to start eating healthy then. You know, we look at stroke. Who is telling us that stroke, or there's any relationship between birth control pills and stroke? You're not getting it. And we're throwing our children on birth control, you know, at 11 and 12 years of age. And we don't even think about the impact that it's. All we're thinking about is, I don't want to have my child come in the house with a baby. But to not have your child, to bury your child because they didn't have a strong enough heart, or they suffered from stroke, is not pleasant. I don't know that either one of those, you know, should be acceptable, but definitely, if it had to be one, well, let's keep our daughter on the planet, and she'll just have some babies. We'll work that out. We'll raise them to be better next time, right? 100% of African Americans, cases, are type 2, and it's not 100%, but it's close to it, are type 2 diabetic. So most of us are challenged with type 2 diabetes, which used to be adult onset diabetes, which has now been renamed because children were getting it, so it didn't make sense to call it adult onset diabetes. So now this is insulin resistant, or insulin deficient diabetes. Then you have type 1 diabetes, which is, of course, the insulin is not being produced at all. And I have seen something that we're being told that couldn't happen, and that is, first off, we were told that you cannot overcome diabetes. And that was crazy because we had heard about it happening already. In America, they don't want you to use words like cure and prevent and treat and diagnose unless you're a quote unquote medical doctor. But we've seen diabetic people overcome the disease and live a normal life, no longer drug dependent. And that's significant. And more information on diabetes. Diabetes is probably one of the most common ailments that we suffer from, and we're so accepting of it. And 50 years ago, we didn't even have it, and now all of a sudden, everybody's got it, and it's just cool, And we're led to believe that we got it as a result of our gene pool. That because we are genetically predisposed as a result of our mother or father or sister or brother or auntie or cousin or our next door neighbor or our dog, somebody's got diabetes in there, and that's why we have it. And we're so cool with just accepting it and being, okay, well, it's all right, doc, what you got for me? And there we go swallowing pills. There's a pill for every ill, and then we go swallowing pills to overcome a lifestyle illness. We gotta wake up. Okay, and the information on diabetes is exhaustive only because it's come out of nowhere, and it's so huge. It is so huge. Violence and homicide. When you eat a violent diet, you tend to be more violent. You tend to be more aggressive. People that just got finished eating, you've seen it with dogs. You give your dog, uncooked red flesh with the blood running from it, and it causes the dog to be more aggressive. They can become more vicious as a result of consuming the dead animal flesh with the blood and whatever else they put on it. Pneumonia and influenza. If we just knew the importance of keeping and maintaining a strong immune system, we would realize that many, of us that are dying from pneumonia and influenza don't have to die. You do not have to die. Strengthen your immune system. That's actually what we should be doing for all of the health challenges that we have. Just strengthen your immune system. Okay. Respiratory diseases. And these are the 10 primary reasons why we're checking out respiratory illnesses that are affecting us. And early on as a naturopath, when I was being educated, I learned about the importance of digestive enzymes for those of us that have respiratory illnesses. If you got one, then why don't you look up what the condition that you've got and how people have defeated it with digestive enzymes. Pre and post pregnancy conditions. I think that's as a result of the chemicals that we're taking in, especially the hormones that we're taking in the form of birth control. Birth control is causing our bodies to not function as they should, and it's on purpose. Folk don't want you having babies, so why not put it in the pill? Because we're so obsessed, we're such an oversexed population, we're obsessed with sex, that there are going to be a whole lot of people that are affected when you have them taking these pills that are throwing their hormonal balance off. When we were children, we would spend time with our grandmothers. For those of us that are old enough to remember going to the country and spending time with our grandmothers, and the things that we would take, the supplements that we would take that would make us better. You know, we remember the onion and eating the onion, all manners of ways that we would eat the onions. And at the top of the screen there, you see the wood ashes. You know, we actually used to sprinkle wood ashes on our food, and it's a great mineral supplement, but it was also salty. And then it was later in life that I learned that was like, ugh, you don't do that. Who does that? I was like, oh, we do. So as a result of us not having wood burning stoves and wood burning fireplaces, and all of that going away, we now are electrically heating our homes, or we're using gas to heat our homes and our food, and electricity to heat our food. And so we're not using wood burning devices or appliances anymore. And as a result of that, we don't have the wood ashes. And we don't have the wood ashes, we can't use them. We can't sprinkle them on our garden, or we can't put the wood ashes, on our food. But very beneficial. And again, I talked to you earlier about my guy, Dr. Joe Wallach, and he's the actual author of the book Black Gene Lies, where he exposes all of the lies that are being told to people of color to lead them to believe that they need pharmaceutical drugs. There's also the myth about raw food. And raw food, why would you want to not cook your food? Why wouldn't you want to eat cooked food? And isn't there something wrong with raw food? Well, raw food, one of the biggest benefits is there's still energy in it, especially if you pick that out of your backyard, as opposed to going to the grocery store and getting some food that was picked maybe a month ago and has been in transit ever since then and sitting inside the grocery store. But raw food, not only is it nutritionally beneficial, and it depends on what you're eating. The various fruits and vegetables have varying levels of nutrition in them. But that would be the reason why we're eating. And many times the cooked food that we're eating has been the enzymatic energy, the life force energy in the food has been altered. So my suggestion is, get yourself on a program where you can maybe start out at 25% raw, work yourself up to 50% raw, and if you can get up to 80% raw, you put yourself in a better space with regard to health. Your diseases inside of the body are not your enemy. It's your lifestyle that's your enemy. When you have a headache, it's not that the headache is the enemy and you now need to take a Tylenol to get rid of the headache. You need to get rid of the condition that made your body need to have the headache so that you could slow down and stop doing what you're doing and change. Likewise with joint pains. It's not because you are a deficient of some pain medication. It's because your body's deficient in the minerals that support healthy joints. Heartburn, likewise. You're not deficient in some digestive aid or support. You're deficient in the nutritional support that is required in order to properly digest. Depression, the same. So what we tend to do is when we have these health challenges, we tend to mask and treat. So it's like putting a cover over top of your smoke detector so you can't hear it and see it anymore. You cover it up, or either you cover it up so it doesn't even the smoke doesn't even get to it, so you don't get a chance to experience the indicator, which that's what it is. It's an indicator of a condition. So you don't experience that because you've blocked it off from being exposed to the real world, your world, your body. So we mask and treat, and we do that with daily supplementation. We do that with vaccines. Well, let me take these vaccines so that I don't have to get this condition. Mm-mm. No, I could have a complete show on vaccines. That was the free gift screen, but we'll come back to that. I think we will. I'm the author of a book called "The Keys to Mastering Nature's First Law," which is indeed self-preservation, and self-preservation is and should be our first law. So, want to get a copy of that, get in contact with me. Also, Take Charge of Your Health is a series that we produced where we are exposing people to 12 hours of really powerful information to make them know that they can take charge of your health. You can get your health out of the hands of your medical doctor and put it in your hands. And there's also, in that process, there are supplements, and those are just a couple of them, the supplements that you would take in order to maintain that wellness. It's not enough just to eat healthy anymore. You know, you can't just eat a vegan diet or a healthy diet and think that that would be sufficient. Our food supply has been damaged. And as a result of that, we need to supplement, and we need to know what we're supplementing and how to supplement. So that's where the consultation can take place. And also, we need to eat healthier. Doing a better job of eating healthier might be going to some healthy restaurants like the one featured there, Everlasting Life, which is a restaurant that I'm affiliated with. And we offer vegan food, and we offer food for the transitioning vegan. So when you come in the door and you see that we've got tofu that tastes like chicken and tofu that tastes like fish, and other dishes that will allow you to kind of make that transition without losing the taste experience or the texture experience. We give you those, but you just don't have to kill the animal. You can check me out on Facebook, social media. Dr. Baruch, DRBARUCH is where you can find me. And this is my contact information. Telephone number 330-BARUCH-1 or 330-227-8241. Email address is getwell@drbaruch.com. And the website, which is my disclaimer, I am not a medical doctor.com. Again, www.Iamnotamedicaldoctor.com. I want to thank you all today for chiming in and listening. Prayerfully, you heard something that triggers in your mind the need for you to make change. It would be better for you to supplement than to not supplement and find your body being deficient. So make sure you get in contact with us. You can either get us over here at the restaurant, or you can call the number that we showed, and that's 330-227-8241. And we'd be more than happy to help you in the process of getting well. Wellness is not only a blessing, it's also an obligation. We're obligated to stay well so that we can do the work that we got to do. There are a lot of our children and family members, loved ones, that are banking on us getting this health thing right. So this has been the Health Literacy Show with Dr. Baruch and Sister Elise. You all stay tuned for more great programming here on the Elife Media Network. Peace.